Oh, try to mute. Oh, you did? Cool. What's up, guys? How's it going? What's up? What's up? It's Pokemon Live. Gold Star Charizard here. Oh, baby. All right. I think we have someone else from Alt that's going to join. We'll probably get started here pretty soon. What's up, Hivebind Collectibles? How's it going? What's up, Metakai? What's up, guys? So, I think what we wanted to talk about really is going to be the prototypes. And so we've got a full set of the prototypes here. Got a phone call. Um, Basically, just answer any questions you guys have, tell the story. I decided to fly out to the Alt Vault today, mostly because I think there's a lot of negativity around these. I think there's a lot of uncertainty around them. There's certainly a lot of people questioning the authenticity of some of the different prototypes and stuff. And so what we wanted to do is really just kind of have a conversation around kind of how they were purchased, some of the history behind them, how many are available, why are these things so clean? Like, why are they so clean? They're mounted on the front and the back. I think really just want to give confidence to the collectors community. For a long time, I basically just wanted to kind of just stay private. Didn't really want to reveal that I've got a good bit of these, mostly because I didn't want to influence the market, or I kind of want collectors to buy what they want and collect what they want. But I think the market should should act on its own. So, but now because of all the negativity, I kind of want to just get out there, put my name behind these, kind of tell more about the story, the provenance. And so really what these are is really Pokemon history. They're some of the first, Pokemon cards ever, created, ever made. Takumi Akabane was one of the founding members of Pokemon, came out, and these are prototypes for his collection. There's a good number of these. You have different, variations of them. You have the black and whites, you have the alphas, the betas, you have some of the presentation. And I know people are like, what's what? Like, you can see this Clefairy here. It's got a little G on the middle, kind of right below the card. There's errors with these cards. They were basically made to play test the game, this and that. So, is David in here?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I can see him.
I'm finally here. We
What's
have
up?
some little technical difficulties. How are you guys doing?
How's it going?
Good, good. Man, we have a full crowd up in here. We have Pokemon collectors. We have sports collectors. Yeah. So Zach, we are here today to talk about these prototypes and your collection as a whole as well, and wanting to consign such an eclectic PSA registry set on our liquid auctions. So yeah, so I'm gonna ask you some tough questions, Zach. You ready?
Let's do it.
We're gonna start off the bat.
All right. Hey, David, I think you cut out there. You cut out right when you were starting the question. I think David might be having camera issues or microphone issues. So I see a question from Clay's Collectibles. Old cards still in gem pristine condition when even pack fresh Watson cards aren't clean most of the time. Clay, I think it's a great question. I am curious as well. It's something that's kind of befuddled me. Like, why is it so clean? It is kind of a reason why I held back from purchasing them right away. It's something that is very odd, to the eye. It's like, to me, these cards clearly were not play tested. They were not used in a game, this and that. They are play test cards. But when you look at the cards themselves, they're actually on a white cardstock where the card is kind of thick and it's kind of firm, where it's kind of like a playing card. It's something that's a little more rigid, I guess you could say, a little harder to damage. And then the actual front of these is going to be on a piece of paper, almost like a printer paper, just something very basic, loose, flimsy. It's glued on the front of the card. And then also the back is also glued on the back of the card. And so it's really the kind of the part of the card that could get the most damage is kind of inside a little bit. You kind of have a border around sort of protecting the card art and stuff. And every one of these sets that I've seen, that I've held, that has come from really Akabane has been in a binder in sleeves. And so, within the binder, there's sleeves in the binder. Then immediately when they're taken out of the binder, they're put in card sleeves. And so to me, they just feel like extra cards. They feel like cards they didn't use. So like you'd probably say, well, why did you make cards you didn't use if you're using a play test? That's a good question. It's a tough question we don't have an answer to. And it's something I would love to ask Akabane directly. Like, why do you have so many sets of these that that don't have wear and stuff? So I guess to get into some of the numbers, there's really 3 sets of these that have sold, that have been released to the public, that have been auctioned through various platforms, such as Alt, Golden, Fanatics, Sotheby's, eBay, you name the platform. But there are more sets of these that are available that have not been auctioned off per se. So these first few auctions are going to be the ones that establish sort of the base level prices for people. And I'm a big believer that, if you don't like it, don't bid. The price is just lower. Is this a $100 card or a $10,000 card? It's really up to the market to determine. But I think the best way to establish the price is to literally auction it. Let the collectors figure out what they want to pay. And typically in auctions like these, the ones that go first are typically the lowest. So if you look at like the Creatures deck, the first one of that was ever auctioned was the lowest price point. And then subsequent Creatures decks, went up over time. I'm not saying it's going to happen here, but the good chance is that that the ones being auctioned have probably the highest probability of going for some of the lower prices. So if you're skeptical, I'd say, don't bid, just back out, just kind of wait, let it see what happens. I can tell you that the cards they're selling are going on average above, what the auction prices are privately from Akabane and his team. So I can tell you that some of the sales points I've seen are well below what they cost. So I can tell you that directly.
So Zach, now that you have, come to the public about your ownership of these playtest set, what made you feel comfortable, or what made you feel like this is the time to let people know that, Zach Gemmin
Yeah.
Pokemon is confidently backing prototypes?
Yeah. I think I was very hesitant. I don't want to impact the final sale of these. I didn't want to influence the market. I didn't want to give unnecessary confidence to these, and so that's why I've sort of just kind of stayed back and been a little bit more quiet. But I think there's some negativity. There's some people saying, "Oh, mine are real," but I don't know who owns these other ones. They got to be fake. And it's like why CGC authenticated these? They put these in cases. It was a multi-week process to get to the point that even put these in a case. They said, who'd you buy these from? How'd you get them? This and that. They tested every one of the cards to make sure they were the right material source, this and that, all the way through. And so it's something where it's like, you have to trust the process and go through it. And I went as far as to ask CGC, hey, if I buy a full set of these, would you write me a letter saying that you think that these are authentic and that they are from Akabane? You do believe that these are prototypes and they're real. And CGC has a financial guarantee. So if this card, worst case scenario, this card auctions for 10K, and then we find out that Akabane was lying to us the whole time, that it was the biggest fraud or whatever in Pokemon, and we find out that he's telling this big lie. Well, CGC's financial guarantee would preserve your investment in this $10,000 card. And so when it comes to the fact that you have Akabane on video, you have a CGC article quoting Akabane. I've talked to multiple members of Akabane's team. Akabane knows my name. I've tried to kind of help coach them on better ways to position these cards for the market and the right way to do it. I think it got to the point that the negativity is really unwarranted, and that if we're being duped this hard, then it's crazy. So I think now kind of stepping up, saying, hey, I'm the owner of these, and we're going to just full send them to auction. I think it's the right way to do it. I can tell you I have absolute confidence that these came from Akabane, that they are from Pokemon, that they were there in 1995, that these were not glued on this year, as some people say. I think they're also very easy to fake. I think these are people who, they printed these off themselves. They did not send these to a printer at the time. These were made sort of by the team that was there. I think the ability to fake these is incredibly high. And so I think, getting them, authenticated through CDC, having that provenance is a big factor. I think it's something that you should absolutely do. You should make sure it's through a verified, broker or someone directly from Akabane's team. Because like I'm pretty sure there's a number of people in this chat that could probably make a fake one of these today. But the fact that this is from 1995, 1996, and did sort of help create the Flareon from Gym Challenge is kind of cool. So why did I decide to sell? That's a good question.
Wait. Before we answer that, I have a follow-up question. Is Akabane the only person in Pokemon company that owns these prototypes, Zach, or certain likes of Ishihara or Sugimori? Do they have hands of these?
I'm aware that other people at Pokemon have these, but every copy that's been released to the market has come through Akabane and his team. So whether that was Akabane's personal collection or someone associated with Pokemon that sold through Akabane's team, that's really the right answer. So it's a very high likelihood that more of these exist with other founders of Pokemon. But all the copies that you're seeing are directly from Akabane's team or from someone he's hired to help, fly to the U.S. and sell these.
Gotcha. So yeah, why have you decided to sell them?
It's a great question. I think that these cards were incredibly mishandled whenever they were first sort of released to the market, and there wasn't transparency. There wasn't the. I think it's really important for collectors, especially on things that aren't set cards or trophy cards or things that have a lot of ambiguity. That are they fake? What's going on? This and that. And I think that there are more of these that will come to market. And so I think selling these all, that decision to auction them, that choice was made a couple of weeks ago, and you can't pull things from an auction. And so I think setting a market price for each individual card is important, for the hobby. It's important for the market to say, hey, what's Dragonite worth? I could throw Dragonite on eBay for 100K and it may never sell, and then it's like it kind of ruins the value proposition for the card. But if you send it to auction, say, hey, just tell me what you think it's worth. It takes two to tango. If it ends at 5K, that high bidder could have been at 50. We just never know. And so I think when you establish the market prices for these cards, it's going to allow the rest of the set to transact in sort of a more careful, curated way. Where the team, I can tell you right now, like they're not selling any of these cards individually for less than 5K a card. If you go buy and say, hey, we got to sell me a Weedle, like they're not going to sell you a Weedle for 5K. They'll sell a set on average, for a decent price, but I think bringing these to the market in the right way is really important to me. Why did he sell? Well, Akabane has been releasing this collection the last couple of years due to health issues and things, and then he kind of had sort of a recovery, and he's a little bit better than where he has been. And so he still has some things going on that are private to him, and I want to respect that. But a lot of him releasing these to the market relate to him setting his family up for the future to come, and that's what I have. That's my understanding of
Since
this.
Akabane has such an eclectic collection, not just prototypes, but snap cards, illustrators, your trophy cards, and above. Why did he choose the prototypes to share them now, rather than beforehand? Right?
You ever have that conversation with someone where it's like you have the players in the hobby, the collectors in the hobby, and they just have different mindsets? Like a player's like they win a trophy and they just immediately sell, or like the collector, will buy a card and they'll treasure it, and the player's like, why do you like the card? It's not even playable. We're just two different mindsets. And so a lot of like Akabane's team and the people selling these, they don't really have that collector mindset. They don't really have that sort of frame of reference of what we value this and that. As in the cards that they were trying to sell, there were some that they priced extremely high that no one wanted because they just didn't vibe, they didn't match, they didn't fit that sort of category, but they were, they had some other special thing, which is what the team valued. Whereas these prototypes, like they might think, hey, this is a Scyther, this wasn't even, this is not even that popular. I mean, I think it's a cool Scyther to me, but it's something where they just didn't think it was that valuable, where the collector community is like, eating this stuff up and saying like, hey, this is really cool. This is the first Scyther, ever released to the public, or not released publicly, but, sort of made in a prototype sort of playtest form. And so I think there's just a disconnect between what people value and sort of what they value. And that value difference is sort of what's driven some of the most recent decisions. So them selling multiple sets is like, I can't believe people want to pay this for that. Like, sure, take it. And now they're like, oh shit, we can't sell more because, you sort of, liquidated the market. So
Why is
yeah.
Akabane the only one coming out who's authentic, who says these are legit? Why aren't people other than Agabane, like Ishihara and even Arita, why aren't they, coming out and say these are real? Why is it just Akabane?
Oh man, that is I know the answer to that question. I'm gonna tread carefully here, okay? So, Akabani is a very taboo subject. It's a very taboo name for creatures. So he has not worked at creatures for some time, although he was one of the founding members of Pokemon. And so Japanese culture is very pride, very honor, very do the right thing. You're respecting your family is above all else. And so a lot of the founding members of Pokemon, Sugimori, Tajiri, Ishihara, they still work with Pokemon. It's still their baby. They still, work countlessly every day to make sure that this, IP is protected and preserved and it's, sort of executed in the right way. Akabani isn't in that spot. He's not day to day with them. He's not, he's stepped away from the company a good while ago. And so it's kind of like Arita, where he has that different auto piece. He's not an employee or contract. He can kind of do what he wants. Akabani, really, the only downside he has is sort of the dishonor he may get from Ishihara or Sugimori saying, why would you sell these? You had these, you're part of us. Like, this never should have been released. This never should have been out there. And I think what he's saying, this is me speculating in my head, is like, well, I'd rather, set my family up and sell these and this and that. And so he's had these for years. This isn't something new. It's more, he's just not. He doesn't work for creatures anymore. Like that's really the short answer.
Got you. I like Rattle's question. Why is the total number of copies never discussed, but instead the amount that hit the market? If transparency and determination of a price is the goal, why keep the numbers of privileged information?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. I think some of it comes back to the brokers don't know how to handle, the execution, the sale of this. I think that they're kind of blinded by the fact they're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars for, these cards, and it makes no sense to them. And so, I think anyone that pushes them for questions or this or that, they, aren't sure what to say, and Akabani isn't necessarily sure what to say either. And so what I think is in my opinion, based on all the information I know I'm aware of, and, let me give two more disclosures real fast, and I'll answer that question. I told Akabani, I think, you guys have sort of messed this up. You guys haven't really done this the right way. Let me help you guys handle this and bring these to the market in the right way. So I made him two offers. One is I offered to buy all of the prototypes that he has. And I said, there's one contingency. You're not allowed to sell anything else you have. If you want to keep a copy, great. But, give me everything. Let me sort of help, bring these to market in the right way. Or two, I'll consign these for you and help you, sell these to the market in the right way. And I'll take a 0% consignment fee, because to me, it's important to have that relationship, that communication, to help make sure these are introduced to the hobby the right way with no financial benefit whatsoever, to bring them to market. So I'd give him literally 100% of the proceeds to just handle it the right way. And so we're still talking. I'm supposed to meet him in person this year when we're in Japan, and hopefully we can come to some sort of agreement on that. And so with all that said, the sets that have been released to the market that are being actively sold is 3. I think the public is aware of maybe 5 or 6 sets that are in private collections, this or that. I believe, on all the information I have, that there are 20 sets or less of any type of prototype. And so I think that there's a good likelihood that they all have similar quantities. I think that there are certain ones that maybe have a little bit less than others, but I think I would say with confidence that there's 20 sets or less based on all the conversations I've had. And I think there's a good chance that maybe only 10 to 15 ever get released to the public, over the next few years. But again, if Akabani's lying about these being real, he could be lying about having 100 sets, right? So it's only as good as the word that they've given. And I know that number is higher than any number mentioned anywhere online with any sort of substance.
Got you. How many sets did how many sets did Akabane have, and how many sets does he have left?
So again, I think it comes back to that 20 set number. I'm just speculating on the high side there. I think it may be closer to 10 for some of these. And so I believe that 5 have been released to the public. I believe that there are an additional 5 more that is either being held back, he's keeping in his collection, or whatever reason. I think maybe the price of these dipped quite a bit. which is maybe why they're like, oh, well, these could have been $5 million a set. Which, when I first bought these, I thought, man, like I bought these and I thought in my head they were worth 4.5 million. Based on all the different factors, this and that. My goal was to sell a portion of it to cover my cost basis and keep the rest. That was always the goal. And then that immediately changed, and the value sort of went down to 3 million, then 1.5, and then 1.2, and now with the current auctions, I don't know where they'll end, but I don't want to speculate. We're going to find out because Alt's auctioning all the cards, so we're going to find out what the full set's worth. I think that's kind of cool on a level playing field.
Awesome. And why hasn't CGC mentioned who and how those these were mounted to cardstock on the label or in
Like
any of
who,
their
like how
articles?
they were mounted.
Yeah.
Um, that's a question I can take back to Akabani and his team. And so I think that there's a number of questions that have come up. I mean, I've been reading the E4 thread that's out there, the Elite Forum thread about these going on. I feel like if I posted, I would, influence this or that, or like I really just want to kind of I wanted to stay out of it and let them auction to see where they ended up. But it's like clearly like people got to know like who owns these, so that's why I'm kind of stepping up. It's unclear to me when they were mounted, how they were mounted, this and that. I believe that they were mounted at the time that they were made back in 1996. I have no reason to believe otherwise, but that's not a question that I have the answer to right now. I think it's a great question. I think it's good. I think it's good to ask these tough questions. Why are they so clean? Why is the back of the card so blurry? Like that is a question I still have. But the fact that Akabani is holding this card, telling me it was in the beginning, the fact you see this in a Core Core magazine, and it's like you hold it, it's like the card is, yeah, it's crazy. Like this is history to me, and so I don't know. I think I'm just upset about all the negativity, and CGC's got a financial guarantee. I think that's another big part of it too, and so it kind of de-risks you completely. And if one of the founding members of Pokemon's want to go on the record and say, hey, these are from when they were made, and this is how we did it, like it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah. Um. So I guess this will be my final question. Other people can add on. Is that what do you think Akabane's end goal is by by selling all these cards to collectors, and these collectors selling to auction houses? What is the true end game for Akabane and others?
I think like many collectors who go find and this is me speculating, okay? So I'm not speaking for him. These are my thoughts based on everything I know. I think he's like the guy that found these in the closet and is like, oh, these are worth something. This is crazy. Like this isn't even the final card. You want something that's not final, like that creator, that designer, that person that wants to bring these out. And so I think he had some personal issues going on with himself. And I think, getting the money from this is going to obviously help support his family, this and that. And so honestly, I think straight up, I think he's selling out. I think he's selling these to get money. I think he realized how much money he has that he probably didn't know he has. And so I think he's really just trying to say, hey, like, this is worth 10 million bucks. Like, yeah, I'd love 10 million for it. Take it. And I think he's less concerned with the collectors. He's less concerned with the longevity. He's less concerned with how these are viewed 100 years from now. I think he's more concerned with getting the funds that would reap from that. I think it's literally just like a disconnect between how special we view these versus how special he views these.
Got you. Well, Zach, I really appreciate you answering all these tough questions. I know when we talked about it beforehand, you asked me to go for it. I was a little bit worried, but you took it like a champ. I'm sure the people appreciate you for that. Very, very appreciative, as I said. I will let you guys be. I will have to join a meeting now. But thank you, Zach, for your time and your expertise as always. Everybody, these following cards, the alpha, sorry, the beta playtest, a good 30 of them will be auctioning in this Thursday, ending this Thursday, and we'll continue 3 auction cycles after that.
Yeah.
And also, you get a chance to own part of Gem and Pokemon's collection as well. So there's another more to it than the prototypes as a whole. So yeah, thank you, Zach, and thank
Very good.
you, Cassidy, for filming all this rounding up. Oh, yep, those are the GMP collection that we see.
Yeah. So I'll stay on the live for a little bit.
Yep, yep.
David, if you have to go, you have to go. But I do want to answer questions. The last thing I want is people to think we had like predetermined questions and it wasn't like, ask whatever questions you want thing. Like, I definitely want to find the tough questions and answer them.
Yep.
There are questions about like how they were printed and like some of the cards being like the Vaporeon being stretched or not stretched or this or that. Like some of those questions are not questions that I had in my head that I've never asked. And so like I see like, Rattle's got a question. Is it a concern that two of the few people sourcing these cards have been banned by PSA and other platforms important to sports and Pokemon, direct things to card altering and fraud? I know that there was another question about PSA BGS. So what I will say is that to grade with PSA, you need to be someone who can submit to PSA. And then I will say that PSA, some of these have been sent to PSA, and PSA did not say that they were inauthentic. They just basically said that, I put these in front of as many people as I could, and they basically said that the chances that these could be faked and replicated and reproduced is too great, for what kind of risk level they've been comfortable with. PSA is rarely, taken the first step on grading things that are obscure or, unloved or prototype or this or that. They do from time to time, but really it's CGC pushing the bar, and then PSA will kind of come behind and maybe do something similar. And so, I know PSA is gone through the same process CGC has. And I believe that the people at PSA think they're real. I think putting them in a PSA case and then putting them to the market and then all that is a different question. And I think that they were really, really close, but ultimately they decided not to. As far as BGS, I do think BGS will probably encapsulate these at some point. I don't grade BGS as often, so I'm not the best person for that. And then to answer the second part of Rattle's question, I think that the people with money that are very liquid were sort of the people who were targeted. And I think two people that were mentioned are people that fit that category. And so if you go with the assumption that Akabane is selling for money, he's going to take the money. He's not going to care who he sells to. And so I think that is the reason why. And I've been told that, if those people were to come back with money, I'm sure he would take it. And so, you can choose to buy from, of the three sets that are out there, you can choose to buy those that are on the market from those people. You can choose to buy the one that I sourced directly. I think that these are all beautiful in their own right. I think that the cards are equal. I think the Vaporeon I have, the Vaporeon, those two sets is the same. Whether it's a 9, 10, 8 pristine, like I think it all comes down to centering on the card because I can tell you that none of them have dirt on them. They're all very clean cards. And so I think that who got them is more about them being catch ready versus like who the people are specifically. All right,
Absolutely.
I got to scroll down here a little bit.
It's
Yeah,
okay, Zach. I got the green light. I can stay longer.
cool. Let's rock and roll, baby. So I guess just more beyond the prototypes. I have basically started a Pokemon business in the last, couple months or so, and that business is exploding. Most of what we do is business is B2B. We don't really do B2C. And almost everyone I'm working with has basically come back and said, we want more, 5X, 10X, this and that. And so long story short, I said the best way to sustain this business and to grow it, I mean, we're hiring like crazy right now, is to sell part of my collection to help fund everything. And so I grabbed around $2 million worth of my personal collection, and I've decided to auction that through Alt. And so also full disclosure, I plan to buy all these cards back someday. I plan to own every one of these prototypes at some point. And so like this set will be distributed into the market, but I do plan to sort of reacquire this set at some point, become kind of part of my final set per se. But, some of the other cards, did you show these already or? So some of these, Gold Star Charizard, I got the Charizard Master Set PSA 10. I'm going to send a lot of that off to auction. And so, crystals, you got a full crystal set. I think there's a full Masaki set being auctioned tomorrow. And so, that includes like the Alakazam basically from my set, the one that I bought, in 2015 that, I was grading and stuff. So the Masaki Gengar, I know it's a card doesn't come up that often, but it's like, does it go for 5K or more? I'll let you guys decide. So,
Zach, also, what was the purpose of getting numeric grades on these prototypes instead of authentic, for example?
I mean, I think they're pretty clean. I mean, the cards look really, really nice. I mean, it still is very odd to me why they're so clean. But I have no doubt that they're like authentic and from the source. And so, to me, it all comes down to centering on the tens. Like there is some fraying on some of the corners. So let me find one with fraying on it. Oh man, I just saw one. Yeah. So like this cloister right here, it's got a little bit of fraying sort of on that top corner right there. And that's really the only thing. It's almost like the cards were put on and then either shuffled or like they were handled or they were like maybe put in like a stack or something. Because it's really only the corners that have any sort of evidence of wear. Whereas the top, the surface is extremely clean. I think that they're all high grade. I think there are versions of these prototypes out there that do have wear on them. They came out, years prior, and they have lower grades. And so I think, if you have these cards, I can get a 10 or a 9 or pristine, like why not go for it? Obviously, CGC is the one determining those grades. And so if the grades are strong, then to me, it's like it makes sense. I mean, honestly, like the authentic card and the 10 card should go for the same price. Like that's just my opinion. But like I do think that the 10 adds more value. So it's like if you can add value, why not add value?
Um, why didn't you ask Akabane to sign these? Because I noticed some people asked Akabane to sign some of their cards. So you didn't feel the desire to have him sign any of these?
I think he would sign them. He's offered to sign them for me. So the challenge is I've never sold a single signed card that I've got in my collection.
Wow.
I probably have $1 million of literally signed cards that I've gotten. Some of these I've gotten directly from people. And here, do you have the Kin Sugimori I just got, the white one? And so I've never sold a signed card. I think it's one of the most intimate parts of the collection that goes back to the creators and stuff. And so if I did get one signed, I would never sell it. Like to me, that moment is so special for him to spend that time. Like I would love to eventually get some of these signed. But at the time, he was not the one that handed the cards off to me. I made them fly to the US. So I was like, hey, like if these are fake and I'm not doing this deal, like I'm not going to go fly to Japan for this deal. So I made them come to the US. We authenticated them. Everything went through the process and they were paid in full. And so I think absolutely, if more of these were to come to the market, I'd love to get some signed. But I can tell you, I would never ever sell the signed copies. So like this is a card I picked up recently. Ken Sugimori, Mew Hollow. So like this card, very special card, very cool card. You could offer me 25 grand, I wouldn't sell it. Like I think signed cards are a very, very, special part of the hobby. If you buy some, send them to get them signed.
That's not a
I
hard
can ask
question,
if you,
Zach. That's just personal. That's favors. They
oh,
can DM you, Zach. You can DM him, guys.
yeah.
Hard questions related to prototypes, not favors. Not favors, okay?
I mean, like I would tell Akabayi to charge some sort of fee for it, but I wouldn't take part of the fee. I think if you get them all signed, they all end up getting signed. And then I would honestly do two. So I don't think people realize this, but when I first got card signed, I would ask them to sign two Zack or two Gym at Pokemon back before that was a requirement. So I've got cards in my collection that say like two Gym at Pokemon. And it was like, to me, it made the moment more special, this and that. So I love that you have that intimacy, that sort of part of it. I wouldn't want to sell those items. But I mean, I don't know if they're open to it. I wouldn't. I don't see why not.
What should be worth more, that or the trophy Kangaskhan? The prototype Kangaskhan or the trophy
Yeah.
Kangaskhan?
So I do have a firm belief that prototypes and test print stuff should not be worth more than their counterparts. And so I think trophy like Kangaskhan, like the one that released the event, I think that should always be worth more than a prototype. I think a prototype Michael Jordan should always be worth less than a Michael Jordan. Now, if you have cards like, this Vaporeon, this, light Vaporeon from, Destiny, this card of PSA 10 is probably under $500, on a good day. I think this prototype should always be worth more than $500. And so you do have some kind of counter arguments where the card it was actually used for is far less significant than the actual card here. But in the aggregate, if there was ever a prototype illustrator, I would argue that should be worth less than the illustrator itself. But that's just, to me, it's a fundamentals thing. It's just trying to say like, well, if you could have both, like you should get the one that means something and not the one that helped build it. Unless it was like a one-on-one, like it just, I don't know, there's too many like odd scenarios that would have to take place.
Thank you. That's a great perspective. I agree with that as well. Cool. Um, I am very happy, and I'm sure the people are very happy to see what you've done for us and provided for us, Zach. I don't see any hard questions in the chats, so if you have anything that you want to add or input, and go for it, Zach.
Yeah. I mean, are there full sets of the play tests coming, like Delta, this and that? I mean, there's multiple sets of the black and whites that are out there. I know there's multiple sets that have sold. Yeah, I see less of the alpha, but from my understanding, there's just as many. It seems like there's more betas because I think there's so many they get a premium, this and that. And the way that these sets are sold are kind of structured. So you kind of have like the Arita Czar with the no rarity symbol, and then you got the Blastoise, this and that, all their retards. Those are always sold as a set. I think the one time they sold one differently, they charged a outrageous premium for that one card. Like I think it was well over 100K for just like that one Arita raw. So like some of these things that you see coming together, it's because the brokers are putting them together and structuring that way. And that direction might be from Akabaya directly, or it may just be the brokers choosing what have you. But it's something where like the rationale doesn't make sense to the collector, but like it does make sense to them. So that's why you see some of these oddities that are out there.
Did Akabana sell all the prototypes playtests?
No, he still has some. From my understanding, he probably has just as many that have been released as that, still kind of with him.
Gotcha.
Am I going to buy more from Akabine or selling these off? Ronald, I don't know if you were in here earlier, but I basically talked about conversations I've had with the team directly. I made an offer to the team to buy all of what they have left. I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay. I made an offer to buy all the ones they have left so that they could be released to the market in a careful way. And then I also made an offer that said if you don't want to sell everything you have with a contractual contingency that you cannot, sell any more of these anywhere else so that they can sort of be entered to the market the right way, or I would consign them for him, and sell these to the market with the 0% consignment fee, which means that at this auction for $5,000 and then I'll charge a $500 fee, I would give Akabani 4,500. And the reason I would do that for no fee is because I value the chance to talk to him, to hear the stories, to possibly, buy other things he has that are not prototypes. But I think that these are very, very, very special to the hobby. I think entering them in the hobby the right way is very important. I think it's a very important thing that we don't just do this frivolously. I mean, the prototype Blastoise was the 5K card no one wanted, and all of a sudden it was handled the right way and it became a 60K card. And so it's like, I think it does more good for the hobby to do it that way. I would love to own a complete set. I can tell you right now that the prices on a complete set, if you were to buy one, are more than the aggregate sales prices of all of them right now. So the sum of those parts is lower than what, they're charging more for the complete set. So it actually doesn't even make sense to go buy one. I'm probably 7 figures into what I've purchased so far. Okay. All right. The questions are flowing, so sorry if thoughts on cracking and sitting for Black Label. I mean, I would just get a well-centered one. I mean, if BGS is still great, I mean, why not? Marco Post, sold them all except one he kept. I think the narrative is not necessarily shared correctly with everyone. I think bringing money to the table definitely helps get the story out. Part of me trying to buy everything is fishing for info. Part of trying to preserve this is trying to get the full story. Because if there were 100 copies of these, I would tell you right now there's 100 copies. Like that changes the value proposition tremendously. But I think that these are being viewed as if there's 50 copies, when really there's only 3 on the market, and there's probably going to be another 5 sets or so that sell over the next 5 years. I'm trying to help them not just full send this and kill the value on them. And so that is part of the conversation. Akamai definitely has more, so he's not only have one set left. Where do these cards come from? I mean, these came directly from Akabani. These are directly from Akabani's collection. So if you missed part of the live, I think once we're done, will the video get posted? I'll go back and I'll just watch some of the comments, the commentary. What the CDC? David, you still here? What's up, Josh? How's it going? You guys see a cool air loogie I got? First dead. A lot of yellow on the top and bottom. It's kind of cool. Very cool. Got a No Damage Ninetales at a show recently. BGS9. Texted Nick about this. And I called, say, hey man, got a cool card. I think you might like it. He was like, how'd you get that? What about Rocket? Any indication? No, so mine are like a lot of these arts that were used in Gym Challenge and stuff, like these are the OG arts. So if you look at vending series, you can see all these Skin Sugimori arts all around the border. You know, you look at Trainer Deck A, B, you look at all the early stuff from Pokemon. Kin Sugimori basically had two versions of every Pokemon that was released. You know, a lot of those were used in base set, and then the rest of those were used in promos, later sets, this or that. And so it comes down to like, yes, there's other arts and stuff, but I think they were illustrated after the prototype phase. Like Team Rocket, I think was later. You know, Himeno, you know, coming in and doing jungle, like, you know, she was after base set. So, all right, open a museum, that'd be pretty cool. I'd love to. I think the Museum of Worlds was insane. I thought that was a beautiful museum. Can I get the Pika? I worked for free for a year. I'd work you to death, basic. I would work you to death. The people I have right now are working as hard as they can. Can I get one of the Charmander's Bulbasaur Squirrel on the side? Here, I'll show you the Squirtle. Squirrel's pretty cool. It's a beautiful card. Yeah, I mean, I think the friendship with Akabane is here cool too. Like, I've been asked the question before, like, if you won the lottery, like, what would you do? It's like, dude, I would literally just buy and sell Pokemon cards all day and build a collection and, you know, this and that. I mean, look at like some of the Grail collectors. What do? The people who, you know, don't have to work for anymore for a living. It's like, you know, that's literally what I would do. I would literally just like go chase the cards in the hobby and this and that. But unfortunately, like, yeah, I'm still in the grind with everyone else. So it's like, you know, it's like, what would you spend your money on? Well, I would pay a lot of money for a one-on-one conversation with Akabane to sit there for 5 hours and just tell me every little detail about Pokemon, the history, the infancy, this and that. I think that'd be incredible. The trainer parts, yeah, so the trainers are sold as a set of 26. They're separate. Some of the trainers have artworks that are not released. Some do. Some of the names are a little odd, this and that. But the fact that the trainers are sold separately is completely tied to how they're releasing the cards. It's not them saying that these are printed differently, this or that. It's literally just them saying, hey, we're going to release them. Let's pick the trainers, put them together. And it's kind of like they don't have that collector mindset. They're picking things that look like they go together and going together. And then, you know, I had a buddy that was wanting to buy all the trainers, and I think we were trying to buy them for like $3K a card, and we couldn't even get close to that. It was like the price they wanted was like $10K a card or something. It was silly. And we're like, because we thought trainers should be worth like $1,000 a piece if we're buying from the source. They didn't do that, so they said no to $3K. And you can see at an auction, some of these are going 1,500, $2K, and I think a lot of it's just speculation, just people saying, hey, I think it's fake. And it's like, well, like Akabane is literally saying that it's real. Like, well, these are coming from him. So it's like, I don't know. I think these get a lot of hate, and they shouldn't. So that's kind of why I decided to step up and do this live and kind of tell you everything I know. Like, I think transparency is really important for the hobby. All right. Any more questions? Any more questions? Ask me a tough question. I don't want anyone to go after this live and say, you didn't answer a tough question. If I've got you blocked, I can't read your question. All right. Favorite one? Oh my gosh. Dude, there's some that are really, really cool. I think, well, I won't say this is my favorite, but this one that stuck out is the Toyota Slowpoke. And so this is like one of the promo Slowpokes from this and that. Like, I thought that was like really cool. Yeah, I'm available for a call, but if you don't text me back, I'm not going to pester you. Like, I'm not going to like triple text you. So if I reach out and you don't answer, like, I'm not going to, like, I don't want to be that guy that's like hounding you, I guess. So I think the Slowpoke's kind of cool. Man, some of the artwork is just like, it's so just like historic. Like, you got the Lieutenant Surgeon's Raichu, which is kind of cool. Yeah, Jinx with those stanky armpits, like, that's kind of cool. I think the Gengar is another like really, really cool one. And this is kind of like one of those, it's kind of like hype train, you know what I mean? And so like the Sabrina's Gengar actually cuts off like half of it, like right here, where you can only see the top half of Gengar. And then this actual prototype shows the full Gengar. And so it's like one of those things where it's kind of like, hey, the final card, it's like front and center and you can't really see it. But this, you can actually see the whole Gengar. Like, I thought that was like amazing. And then, there's a lot of little things I've noticed, like the Charizard has the Pokedex number where it's like wrong. So you can pick that up if you want. And then like just show the bottom right corner. And so the Pokedex number is 5. When we were trying to submit these, we went through all the Pokedex numbers, put them in order. We're like, 4 of these are out of order. Like, what's going on? And like another, I think, really good question for people to ask is like, why is the Charizard Pokedex number fixed on some and not on others? Because the presentation, like, understandably should have come after, but there's some cards where it's fixed and not fixed, and it's like, well, what's the timeline of these? Why is it 5 on some, 6 on some? So like, that's a question I still have that we may not get the answer for, but it's an oddity. It's something that doesn't necessarily make sense. Why are they pristine? Yeah, that's a huge question for me too. Like, why are they mint? Every one that we've got is basically come in a binder. It's come in something that has been sleeved, something that's been preserved. I think, we relied on CDC to do the test on like the aging and stuff to make sure that they were something not printed this year. That was a huge factor for me and doing one deal and also trying to buy another, if you know what I mean. I haven't done any deals for the same cards except for the EVs. Right now I own 2 sets of EVs and I'm keeping a set for myself. And then, I bought some of the black and whites as well. And so I haven't bought 2 sets of 151. Like, that's just an absurd amount of money. So, and then let me see this. Are other owners of these cards upset you could talk about there being mini sets, dumping these because they're worried about their information coming out? I don't really care what other people think. I think doing these the right way is important. And like, if there's 20 sets, we need to say there's 20 sets. So there's nothing firm from any broker, dealer, this or that says that. I think the highest number that anyone's probably said is 10, publicly with some substance. I am just speculating that I think that there's probably around 20. I think it's probably less than that. It's probably closer to 10, maybe 15. I think some sets have more or some have less. I'm a firm believer in transparency. If I sold you this Gengar and I said it's a 101 card and it's the highest grade, which it's not, and this and that and the other, and then like 5 more come out, like you would never buy from me again. You would exile me from the hobby, and it's like it means nothing. And so it's like being transparent, even at your own expense, is important because it adds to like the discussion, it adds to the validity, it adds to the conversation, and it adds to the questioning of the cards. Like, why would you make 20 sets of a prototype? Did you literally have 100 people there playing, or did you just have the intern working overtime and forgot to tell them to stop? Like, I mean, there could be simple answers to these, and I think it's a great question why there's so many. Because I've not seen any of these cards from some of the other creators, although it's speculated that they have them. So were they dumping because they're worried about the information coming out? I think so. Me speculating, I was not a part of any of the decision making on anyone else selling these. I think that they sold because they wanted to be first to market, and people who are first to market, I think they probably thought they'd get a premium. With something like this, I think it's more likely that the 5th copy sells for way more than the 1st. And so if you have a trophy card, that's different. But if you have like an obscure item, I think that the later copies usually outperform the early copies. What card stock are they mounted on? It's kind of like it's almost like a card, like an insert, like if you're getting like a Poncho Pikachu, no, sorry, a Van Gogh Pika, and you have that insert sort of inside like there or whatever. It's kind of like one of those like blank cards with no text on the front or the back. And then like literally the top of it is like mounted on in a really thin sort of piece of paper, almost like printer paper, I guess you could say. But that cardstock is a little thicker. It does have a little weight to it. The black and whites are certainly way thicker. The black and whites are probably 5 times as thick as that. And so like that actually is like a card. There's no middle layer to the card. Like if you look in, it's literally just one layer. And all the corners of the cards are kind of not necessarily cut the best. So it kind of tells you it was cut in a factory without, if you have a big stack of cards, when you cut a card, generally the ones in the middle are good, but if the top and the bottom kind of fray a little bit. And so to me, it says the stacks of these probably it wasn't a deep stack of cards. What's up, Metapod? I want to tell you so bad I had one of these, but I was trying to not share with everyone. Okay, that's a good question. Blue Eyes, probably somewhere. Do you think they really play test hold more value long term? I think that the names are all made up, like black and white, alpha, beta, delta, gamma, alpha, 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 whatever you want to call it. I think those are names that where those names come from, right? Like who's the one saying those names? And so like it's odd because like you would think like, oh, alpha set has more value, but it's like, well, the beta set's the only set with the Gengar, right? Now, I would argue that, maybe the CD Charizard probably is less valuable than the other Charizard. Like, that would make sense to me. But it's also my understanding that when Ken Sugimori drew these cards, he drew two copies of each. He drew a Charizard 1 and Charizard 2. Which one you call 1 or 2, A, B, whatever you want to call it, it's kind of up to you. Like, I don't think, I think Beta almost devalues the cards in a way where they really shouldn't be divided at all because they're all kind of around the same time frame, this and that. So that's my opinion. So maybe Akabane said alpha, beta, and that's why they stuck. But I don't know why those names have stuck. Are these prototypes BS? Seems like they are. They definitely feel kind of like, all right, like what's going on? But Southern TCG, but once you get into the authentication piece, you definitely, I think they're real. 30 years, one every week. PSA Pikachu, some actually have come out, prior to this year. So it's very few quantity, and they're very low. They're like mid-grade. They're not, this and that. All right. Good question. Oh man, I'm trying to scroll down. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I mean these have been out for a while, and so Mr. Fuji won a card party. That'd be cool. Yeah, so like for these, like I have none available privately. I don't intend to move these privately. I think a public auction format is the right way to do these for the collecting community. I think I'll let you guys determine the price. If you think that these aren't real, this or that, my argument would be like, don't bid. Like it only makes the price lower. Like don't bid. But I think that they're real. I think that they're directly from the source. I think that they're something that should be preserved and kept in the community. First time I saw them, I thought they were beautiful. I thought they were special. I thought this was something truly iconic. And, even then I had questions on authenticity, which I think most have been resolved. And so protecting and preserving these, I think, for the community is huge. And so the auction format is you determine the price, And so if these all end up becoming $500 cards, it's because the market determined it, not because I said they were 5K each, right? But I can tell you that we're bidding quite a bit more, that I paid quite a bit more than that for a lot of them. Yeah. Yeah. Cool, cool. More questions? Well, I mean, these weren't the Silver Bible because they were never meant to be released. Like they're part of like the design and this and that of the set. Like when you build anime and you have all these different different pieces, this and that, for that you don't release all the different parts. I bought art for years from people, and I bought sketches of things that became the real artwork, and those weren't intended to be released. And collectors a lot of times don't even really think about that. So it's something where like I don't think the creators really saw that these were really valuable or this or that. I don't think they really ever meant to like release these. And so it's kind of like we love them, but I don't think they really. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up here in a second. Um, okay, so I guess just kind of quick close here. All these are at auction with Alt. They're going to go live. They're ending tomorrow, Thursday, and then we basically have 4 rounds of auctions that'll end in succession. Every card's been auctioned, so I have not pulled any cards. Everything is going. Anything I have that I'm keeping, I basically like purchase separately. And then in addition to that, I've sold part of my collection. And so, the Charizard PSA 10 set, basically have let that go. Some of the first edition base hollows are there as well, going for pretty low price. Full crystal set, full shining set, full Masaki set. And so business has been really good as of late. And all that is going to help better the Pokemon hobby community and this and that. So some of those ventures will be disclosed to the public probably 6 months from now as they sort of hit their peak sort of maturity. But for now, we're just trying to make the hobby better every day we can. And the decision to kind of move some of the personal collection stuff is to benefit that. But by all means, I intend to fully buy everything back at some point in the future. All right. So we're going to let it go. All right. See you guys. Thank you.